Hi everyone, I'm Jess and you're watching Discern with Jim Denison. Today is Thursday, December 2nd. Hi Jim, how are you?
I'm doing well. Jess, how are you today?
I am doing well, glad that it's December. So yesterday, you and Ross started a discussion talking about what's going on in the Supreme Court right now in regards to Roe v. Wade and the abortion laws in the United States. And today we're gonna continue that discussion and look at it from a different angle. And so this is from USA Today. A majority of the Supreme Court signaled Wednesday it is open to upholding Mississippi's ban on most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, but left unresolved the question of just how far it may go to undermine its landmark Roe v. Wade decision. In nearly 2 hours of debate, the justices wrestled with the potential impact of overturning Roe, both on people who are seeking an abortion, as well as how a heavily divided nation might perceive the Supreme Court if it abandons the watershed ruling from 1973 that established a constitutional right to the procedure. So for those who might not have watched yesterday's episode or still maybe a bit unclear on what is going on in the Supreme Court right now, could you just briefly explain what is happening in the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I'll be glad to try to do that. And so yesterday we saw for the first time really since Roe v. Wade, a direct attack on Roe itself brought before the court. Closest to that would be the Casey decision back in 1992, but with that as the only possible exception to this, the justices took a case that could give them the opportunity to overturn Roe itself. Typically, they don't even take cases that would cause them to have to revisit previous decisions. That's unusual for them to do that. What's known as stare decisis, which means it stands decided, has been that typically they have not wanted to overturn previous Supreme Court precedent unless they felt they absolutely had to do so. So the very fact they took this case, which could go directly to the heart of Roe itself, made this a landmark conversation. The other has to do with what apparently came out of the discussion. It was scheduled for 70 minutes, but went nearly 2 hours. And from what those that were observers of the hearing have reported out, it did seem, I've seen this on a number of sources, that a majority of the court did seem that they were willing to support Mississippi's law, which would ban abortion from the 15th week forward. Now, that would be a massive change. What Roe v. Wade did was to look at abortion in trimesters, that a woman could have an abortion for virtually any reason in the first trimester. There'd be conditions on the second trimester, even more conditions on the third trimester. In 1992, the Casey verdict of Supreme Court then moved it to viability. That pre-viability, meaning when the fetus or the child could live outside the mother's womb, prior to that, abortion could be fairly unregulated, which is usually around the 24th to 26th week. And then after that, there would be significant regulations that the states could bring to bear. So what it seems was discussed yesterday is at least the idea of moving away from viability, so that states could make decisions like Mississippi's made on the 15th week, which certainly wouldn't be at the point of viability. It would be a different way of doing this, and yet allowing abortion per se to still be in effect. That could be what the court will decide. The court could decide to go even further and actually overturn Roe itself. We won't know till next summer, when probably they'll actually bring their ruling forward, but that seems to be what was discussed yesterday.
Jim, thank you for that explanation. That was very helpful. This is a very, complex issue and has been ongoing for a while. So it's very helpful to know what is going on currently. And yesterday, you and Ross kind of focused on, why this topic is so important, specifically as Christians, because it has to do with the sanctity of life. But today, I kind of want to focus on, a different perspective. And that is that some people might see the men on the Supreme Court who are making these decisions as that's not fair, or it's not right that mostly men are making decisions over an issue that first and foremost impacts women and their babies. So what would you say in response to people who feel that way?
That's a good question. Really, there's three pieces inside it, I think, to talk about. The first would be historical. The Roe v. Wade decision was made by 9 men. And so if the person that's making this argument is a pro-abortion supporter, let's say, or a pro-choice supporter, they might say, and they might say, well, the men on the current Supreme Court really don't have the gender standing to speak into this issue if they're opposed to abortion. Well, they'd have to go back to 73 and make the same statement, when 7 justices then of the 9 voted for Roe v. Wade, voted for abortion. And so really historically, it would be it cuts both ways. It'd be kind of hard to make that claim consistently across history. On a second level, you wouldn't want to say that abortion only affects women. Clearly, it affects babies, unborn babies, we would say, of both genders. It clearly affects the biological father on some level. It affects families. It affects grandparents. It affects larger family systems as well, not just the mother in question. And so we wouldn't want to restrict the issue of abortion only to the female gender. But then on the third level, if we want to start saying that people can only speak into legal issues that affect their gender, then we can't stop with abortion. We'd want to be saying this really about anything that comes before the Supreme Court, that if men are primarily affected, the women should recuse themselves. And if women are affected, the men should recuse themselves. And how do you make these decisions? How do you decide when it's only women affected or only men affected, or it's 30-70, and so now you have to recuse 30%? And how do you get into all that complexity? We just have not believed that. We're out of a Judeo-Christian context that would say in Galatians 3, there's neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female. We're all Abraham's seed and heirs according to the covenant. Certainly God made us male and female. Certainly there are gender differences. Certainly, Jess, I would never claim as a man that I understand a woman's experience in the context of abortion. Certainly, I would never want to say that, any more than a woman could necessarily say that she would understand a male's experience in the context of a health condition that would be specific to a male or something such as that. I certainly wouldn't say that. But we nonetheless, as a culture, have believed that we could get to transcendent truth in conversation together as men and women, both genders working together for the common good for both. Once we start restricting jurisprudence to gender, where do we stop? And how is that going to be legislated? So bottom line, men should be sensitive to the fact that abortion first and foremost affects the woman. We absolutely should know that. And we want what's best for the mother as well as the child. That's why we're pro-life, not just pro-birth. I am opposed to abortion because I believe abortion is so damaging to the mother who chooses it, not just the baby. So we want to be holistic and care about women in a way that is not patronizing or misogynistic, but understands all of us as made in the image of God.
Jim, that was all really good. I think what stuck out to me the most that you said was just how we need to look at this issue holistically, and how this can involve, men and women, because I believe that we do need good, godly men to be on the side of women and babies, championing them, supporting them, helping them, achieve their dreams and their goals. And so I think this could be a really easy and cool way for whole families to get involved and to learn and to support women and babies. And I know for me personally, I have felt convicted and have had to ask myself, it's really easy to say what we're against, but what am I actually for? And how is that coming to fruition in my own life? And so I would just urge all of us to, think about how we are spending our time and our money, and if there are any local organizations we could be giving ourselves to that are trying to support women, not just, give birth and bring their baby to term, but also like post-birth. And like you said, the entirety of the baby's life and the mom's life. And so I think that's just a great place to land us. This conversation is going to be ongoing as we continue to learn more, and especially as the Supreme Court reaches a verdict in the coming year. But that's all we have for you guys today. We'll see you here tomorrow on Discern.